Good morning for someone, good afternoon, and good night. My presentation is called Exploring Teachers' Need and Knowledge Gaps in Climate Change Education. I am Maria Angelica Mejia Cáceres. I am Colombian and living in Brazil. My last research is about climate change that start to recognize that we are in one era, that the climate emergency is super important, not just to work in technical ways to get adaptation, resilience, or mitigation, but also is an important topic to bring to the classroom. And UNESCO recognized that, explaining that education is an essential factor for response to climate change, providing knowledge-centered education, skills, values, and abilities. However, I think so in education, we are having kind of mistake, assuming that the teachers have the enough knowledge and asking them to introduce climate change without one previous process of education, of training about that. Recognizing to understand climate change needs knowledge from different science. The other thing is that we don't find that it's official topic in the curriculum in Latin America countries like Brazil and Colombia. However, we can find some topics related in some areas like geography. So some teachers have limited knowledge or lack of confidence and support to teach, while knowledge about climate change may not be necessarily required educational laws. There is a social and environmental demand. So we are saying, looking in different parts of the world, how the climate are changing, the impacts, strong raining, strong warm. So it's one reality, and we are looking to the social movements like Fridays for Future, who are request to the politicians and to the governments to take action inclusively in the education. Here I bring one phrase of Paulo Freire, who say, when we live the authenticity required by the practice of teaching and learning, we engage in a total experience, directive, political, ideological, epistemological, pedagogical, aesthetic, and ethical, in which beauty must go hand in hand with decency and seriousness. So when we speak about education, we are bringing different dimensions to discuss, for example, this topic. And universities, so we can say, how I explained already, that some movements like Fridays for Future and Climate Reality are request implementation of climate change in education. In Brazil, recently was approved one law to include climate change education across the 10 in the curriculum municipal schools. However, we don't see many movements for the universities about this topic. In this context, we designed an online course, since one perspective, critical perspective and Freudian perspective. It was conducted through my postdoctoral research. And the idea was to offer education for training teachers, teachers in service about climate change. Also, we are doing in this moment one research about what is the climate change knowledge, what are the emotions, and what are the practices in 3 countries from the South, Colombia, Saudi Arabia, and Malaysia. So I bring a little information about the second research too. About the course, to design the course, we conducted one preparatory research that included a literature review on climate change education and review of guidelines from multilateral organizations. And the design of the process have 3 stages. First, have one online survey and pilot course. This stage aimed to evaluate the structure, the organization, and content of the course through its implementation with participating teachers. It was initially conducted with a group of in-service teachers in Brazil, and it was reformulated and improved based on the participation feedback. After we have the restructuring of the course, the educational course was restructured based on Freirean concept. The participant asked to have more concept and be more explicit on Freirean movements in terms of the use. This made the connection with Freirean approaches more explicit. We organized a conceptual framework which involved rethinking communication situations to make them more defined. And then the course was adapted to Latin American context. So we don't have just participation of Brazil. So we had the pilot course with, we have the online survey after the pilot course, after the registration survey, other survey to start the course, the restructuring, and the development. And the information that was collected was analyzed through textual analysis or critical analysis of this course. And once the course was restructured, was carried out with 16 educators. The sister educators were from Guatemala, Costa Rica, Colombia, Bolivia, Chile, and Brazil, who stayed during all the section. And in the start were 32 participants who were registered, but in terms of the schedule, they cannot participate after. So in the findings, what the teachers want, need, and know in climate change education. So what the teachers want in climate change education. So based on the various responses, particularly the verbs that was used by the teachers, we found references to knowledge, skill, and abilities. And for this reason, we used the action verb from Bloom's taxonomy. And I want to highlight that we are not speaking about like one high order or priority knowledge, for example, or to other ability. Is more about to know what is the components that they want to learn. So the teachers are interested in some topics. These topics are education for sustainable development, and they want that to can work in environmental problems, the pedagogy, Paulo Freire, ecological awareness, pedagogy, environmental ethics, climate change, environmental education. About knowledge, they want to be prepared to provide education about ecological awareness. They want to improve and to deepen knowledge of Paulo Freire's theory, climate change, and environmental education. They want to know about teaching strategies, environmental problems, and climate change, and to have cognitive competence. About the comprehension, they want to learn about pedagogy, climate change, environmental problems, policy, and the team in general about climate change. To get up this information about policy, environmental education, and the team in general, to discuss about the team in general, and to comprehend really what is climate change. They do reference to applications, so they say that they want to acquire skills to apply teaching strategies. So it's not just like, you need to teach climate change. It's like, which is this strategies that we need to use or can apply that and to produce a teaching strategy. They have the synthesis category too, so they want to create solutions to combine teaching strategies with environmental problems, to develop a teaching strategy, to build a network, and to share experience. So something important to speak about climate change is that calls to the actions to act. So that appear in their discourses. And the last category, but it's not less important, how would I say, is the category of judge or evaluate. So they want to know how to evaluate one proposal, one research, one project with the purpose of create solution. So in general, that is like the graphic, what I am saying, the difference. So they want to know about climate change, environmental education, and education for sustainable development, have knowledge, understand it, apply, and can create solutions, and can evaluate. What the teachers need for that? So they want to understand what climate change is exactly and what is happening, have transformative pedagogical intervention in the classroom, recognize cultural and territorial identity, and implement climate change in the classroom. So about to understand what climate change is exactly and what is happening, according with System Barrick, the teacher have never learned climate change. So it's like we have gaps to can bring that and to create content because we are not prepared for that. And teachers, some ones are feeling they have these gaps in their knowledge and in skills. And they say with the use that their motivation was needing to really understand climate change. One of them say, understand what is actually happening with climate phenomena and what we can do. Have transformative pedagogical intervention in the classroom. So according to Uday and Pindey, transformational education involves goals, vision, transmission of content and skill. It implies what to do. And as Follen explains, what to do is a concept that is part of the Freudian universe, and like beauty adolescence is born from the author's search to be coherent in expressing himself. It's a concept created by Paulo Freire to refer to a desirable posture of an eternal apprentice on the part of the educator. So adolescence is an educator that always willing to learn with what he does and with the apprentice himself. So bringing a Freudian perspective to climate change education involves performing a committed act and an ability to act and to reflect. We found that more than 60% of the teachers were interested in the course about Freire perspective linked to climate change education. Some teachers explained they were interested in Freire in general, about all that is connected to Paulo Freire, our curiosity. There were not already the concepts like education as liberty or transformative pedagogy. About recognized cultural and territorial identity, developing meaningful educational practice is based on interpreting and understanding cultural values and cultural representations. This is from respect for cultural difference that adequate communication can be achieved. In this sense, to think of an education for climate change, where climate science might be understood by the student, and assuming this as subcultures in terms of governance thinking head, that we cannot fall into a simple transmission of content that ignores the identity, since it generates enculturation and in ethnocentrism and racism, but rather we must adapt the content to the culture, and more that some places are suffering the impacts of the climate change totally different. We can speak about refugees or migrants about climate change. The teachers demonstrate as sociocultural perspective when they recognize that the population have their own knowledge and expresses openness to the dialogical relationship. For example, one teacher say, my motivation is to understand how climate regulation and emergencies affect populations that are still in environments that require preservation, and to understand how to integrate the knowledge of the population in this process, making it more democratic. About implementing climate change in the classroom, some teachers use Leontic models, like words like to have and can. So, for example, some participants explain the necessity of climate change education, where they are feeling it is important to spread the information about this topic because of the need to take care of the planet. So they use can and discourses as keeping up to date with the climate change scenario so that I can share the knowledge. Teachers consider that climate change education should be implemented in basic education and in school, in the classroom, and with the people of their circle. Implementation is a consequence of the evaluation carried out by itself. For example, some say few students are interested in climate change. They state that gaps exist in the educational process, noting that there are very specific theoretical concepts that make it difficult to understand the problem. They also point out the non-existent support at the curricular level. So one teacher say, I think and consider that there is a lack of curricula, pedagogical and work plans in education for climate change. And there is the need to include curricula greening in a transversal way. They also identify the didactical difficulty in implementing it. They say, how do we lead and teach about this big problem? What teachers know about climate change? We find that some answers, they are confusing climate change and global warming, and they are thinking that are synonymous. Interest are that they are different phenomena. However, some in their answer don't use one strong assertion. So they are using like, I think, I guess, is possible, is probable. So from the 39 answers about climate change and global warming are different phenomena, then a weak assertion among the expression used. We found, I think, I understand that, for me, in my opinion. So they are not sure about that. We found that although they make a statement about global warming and climate change, there are differences in conceptualization. So make a conceptual error when starting the global warming is the cause. However, others understand that global warming is just one aspect on climate change, referring to the increase in the global temperatures, primarily due to rising concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. On the other hand, climate change refers to increasingly significant change in climate measurements over a long period of time, including precipitation, temperature, and wind patterns. So, for example, when say climate change encompasses change caused by both nature and humans, global warming is a phenomenon characterized by the increase in the Earth's average temperatures, which hovers around 15 degrees. There are different phenomena because global warming is attributed to a specific issue, while climate change occurs naturally. We also identified this probability modeling, the evidence. So they show the sources of information on which the speaker relies when saying something, such as sensory perception, personal experience, inference, and verbal testimonies. Some examples are apparently, obviously, as someone say, in the case of the sample above, it is identified what the word due to. In the question, from a strictly scientific point of view, what are the different climate phenomena that you associate with climate change? We found a confusion between climatic factors, elements contributing to climate change, consequence of climate change, different phenomena among others. So in climate factors, they mention, for example, atmospheric pressure, humidity, strong winds, and storm, precipitation, and temperature. There is a misconception between climate and weather. Now explained that climate refers to the short-term atmospheric condition during a specific time in a particular area in the zone of atmospheric variables over a short period, such as temperature, humidity, cloudiness, precipitation, pressure, winds, storms, and others. Furthermore, the designed climate as response to climatic phenomena. Remember that climate is the aggregate of daily weather conditions over a long period. Moreover, what we must consider is the axis states that for most students, atmospheric pressure is the most difficult climatic element to understand. Among the elements contributing to the climate change, there was mention of the absence of health and education, change in the atmospheric composition, consumerism, pollution, deforestation, environmental degradation, environmental pollution, extractivism, heat islands, industrial activities, lack of public policies, and unfully sustainable development goals. Additionally, we found responses that named the consequence of climate change, included in displacement of flora and fauna, the degradation of fertile soils, landslides, reduced planting areas, soil moisture saturation, species extinction, and water scarcity. And regarding different phenomena, we also found confusion because they not only design the phenomena associated with climate change, we correctly found phenomena associated with climate change, such as coral waves, coral bleaching, desertification, droughts, fire, floods, global warming, ice melting, rising sea levels, and ocean acidification. Greenhouses were also mentioned here. However, it's not clear from the response and how they understand it. And other part that I want to bring that was about the other project is about revealing the illusion of knowledge in climate change education. So the funding in the second project about comparing the three countries, we can find one disparity between self-assessed understanding and objective accuracy of the understanding. Drawing inspiration from Glenberg, Wilkinson, and Epstein, who coined the term illusion of knowing, we introduced this concept here. This is particularly relevant because based on teachers' responses, it appears they have a substantial level of knowledge about climate change. However, later responses indicate a lower level of knowledge, contradicting the information provided early. In this context, we operationalize the notion of delusion of knowledge as rating that indicates comprehension of material containing contradictory statements. So when we analyze the comprehension ratings, it became evident that the teachers display a high degree of confidence in their understanding what is climate change. So, for example, answers from Colombia, they say, for example, about the Earth's climate has changed literally in the past. They say that we find too low. So indicating a lower level of awareness regarding historical change in the Earth's climate. In contrast, Saudi Arabia median's categorization suggests a moderate understanding, while Malaysia's too high categorization signifies a higher level of knowledge in this context. And this divergence could be attributed of different exposure about the information. However, when we go into the kind of question, for example, again, appear in this study, the lower level of comprehension about the difference between climate change and global warming. So this can indicate this presence of illusion of knowledge. This observation suggests that they tend to associate various weather phenomena with climate change. The phenomenon underscores the complexity of their understanding, as they demonstrate competence in connecting weather phenomena to climate change, but they struggle to understand the nuanced difference between climate change and global warming. Furthermore, the responses reveal a lack of understanding regarding the primary contributors to current global warming, such as the mistaken belief that the ozone hole plays a major role in the process. This misconception further emphasizes the need for specific educational initiatives to address this knowledge and perception gaps. We have also some confusion between climate factors elements. So they say that earthquakes, El Niño, La Niña, electric storms, hailstorms, heat waves, hurricane, ozone hole, rain, seaquake, snow storms, thermal inversion, twister. So it's like all is associated now to climate change for them. That means that Freire education process need to be based on the nature of the human being. And this implies that we are unfinished beings, so we are always learning, and we need always continue reading, continue studying, because we are not finished. For that is that we need education. This is some reference, and thank you.